Got it.
Now, it's right up under the title.
I got it.
It says record, just click it and you'll be on record. On the record, you're on the record now.
Yeah, that's awesome because we start in a minute. So
I'm just testing the mic out. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you guys are great. So
over and out.
Yay. Thank you, Coach Jenny. We found it. Where'd you get the fancy microphone? So well, welcome everybody. We've got 45 people in the room. I'm going to be doing this on Periscope as well. So forgive the phone, but I'm going to start the broadcast so our Scope speakers can join us. And welcome, well, look at everyone's smiling face. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Speaker Scope on Periscope and on Blab. My name is Jolene Moody, and if you're not familiar with me, I am a professional paid keynote speaker, and I help people like you find and create paid speaking gigs. And I thought this would be a fantastic Blab to put together because there are 3 speakers right here that also do this work in 2 ways. They do it as keynote speaking, so they get paid for their talk, and they also do a form of platform speaking where a product is involved, and we'll talk about that and how that is sold too. So let's go around and do a quick introduction so everybody knows who you are, and we'll go from there, and I'll start questions, and it will grow organically. Does that sound good, guys?
Sounds great.
Awesome. So Melanie, start with you.
Hey everybody, Melanie Benson-Strick. I am a small business optimizer, which means I help entrepreneurs and small business owners figure out how to make their business and themselves perform a heck of a lot better. I've been in business for 15 years, been speaking for 30 back in corporate days all the way through. And I'm also a member of Women's Speakers Association. So I'm really heavily involved in the speaker community, but I actually get really creative with speaking because a lot of my gigs are to entrepreneurial communities who don't have big budgets. So I'm looking forward to sharing some tips around that today. Hey, everybody, thanks for the big shout outs. I love all the little clapping. I'm a virgin blabber. This is my first blab.
I see Joanne Del Balso is giving you some claps. We got some questions coming in too already. So Shebang, awesome. We'll get to your question. Sandra, tell us about you.
My name is Sandra Centorino. I'm the inspirational expert at a social enterprise that my daughters and I started. It's called Say It International. And it is a benefit corp based out of Connecticut. We're online. We teach people how to bring their words to life.
Beautiful.
It started out with a small gesture. We started out with a little Say It Forward card that had a message on the back that we started handing out, like Pay It Forward, but with words. And it turned into an organization with 3 hubs under it: Say It Forward, Say It Social, where I teach people how to bring out the life in their business creatively online. And then also Say It Out Loud. And that's the speaking part where I speak at civic groups, schools,
awesome,
conferences, things like that, and that's what I'm all about.
Beautiful, Sandra. George, you're up, my friend.
It seems like I'm the baby in here. I'm also a virgin blabber.
Yay, George!
So my name's George Carroll. I'm also known as a transformational artist, and I work with organizations around peak performance and productivity. It's probably my favorite topic to speak on. But I also have a live seminar business where I market and promote and fill the room. I have a one-on-one coaching practice where I work with change agents all around the world to help them build a business around their gifts. And I have an online online training programs business where, I work with people all around the world on a couple of different topics. One of them is launching soon called Become a Published Author in 126 Days. And I'm super pumped to be here because, not only do I get to teach a little bit, but I get to learn a lot from you amazing ladies.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this. So we're all going to be learning from each other and serving the people that are asking questions. So there's one question that's coming in already, but what I want to start with before we get to it, Shebang, and I promise that we will, is, and I think you probably all agree, there's 2 forms of speaking out there, and I'm speaking very generically. There's the keynote where you get paid for the talk, and then there's the platform speaking where you show up at business conferences, you sell your product. Melanie, you do a hybrid model. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I actually do all 3. And I found in the very beginning of my career, one of the fastest ways I could get my message out, I was teaching about overwhelm and how to get out of overwhelm and how to leverage your time and energy with the team, a lot of mindset stuff. But mostly people wanted me to come speak at their events, and then I would sell a product, which is known as platform sales. But as our industry shifted a little bit, I found that I didn't necessarily want to be necessarily paid just for what I could sell from someone else's stage. And I started to find places where people wanted to bring me in, and we would negotiate how much I would get paid for every single person who enrolled in my program, but the speaker or the host paid for that out of the sales they made with their big package program. So it was a win-win for all of us. And I don't do it all the time. You know, sometimes I still do platforms. Sometimes I get paid keynote. But what I'm finding is that it's becoming a more popular model, and it's great for me because I'm enrolling people in my program. They're getting great benefits and an additional way to add value into their offering. And I'm guaranteed a certain amount of money based on what they predict they can sell. And almost always they're selling more than that. And I'm almost always negotiating that they're going to pay my travel and accommodations and, you know, take care of me so I'm not having to pay out of pocket. So that's kind of the hybrid model I've been exploring and playing with. And especially when I'm doing the mindset work, instead of feeling like there's competing speakers on stage, everybody kind of clamoring for who's going to buy your product, it becomes an integrated collaborative approach that feels really good to everyone in the room, as long as the host can sustain that and they have a good track record with enrolling. So it's just another way through right now.
So how do you find those? And I know that's a question for a lot of people, and we'll talk about models. How do you get the interest? How do you reach out to those particular organizations, and who are they?
Well, I don't know if you're going to love my answer, but it's actually been a little bit flipped. They've been approaching me, but let me tell you how I got to that place.
Yeah, that's
you know, it's a high class place to be when people know your work and they're familiar with your topics. Usually these are colleagues, friends of mine, people I've been networking with, masterminding with. And so that's the way to get them. First of all, I do something called the Blitz model. And when I'm getting a new topic or I get something out, I make sure I'm all over the place. I say yes more than I say no. And I speak on, blabs now that these are out and about. I do, interviews on podcast radio shows. I speak at people's events. I get involved in virtual and live summits. And what that does is it just creates this buzz of like, okay, Melanie's everywhere. I think I need to get to know this person. And people get to become aware of my topic and my track record. And that starts this movement of people coming to me. Thanks, Sandra. And I've been doing this for almost 15 years now. And every time I've wanted to kind of re-up myself, revamp my message, bring something new out, I use that Blitz model. And, even though I would have said yes to you anyway, Jolene, it's part of my strategy, say yes to new platforms and new opportunities. So that's one thing. But another real quick thing, and I know someone else will talk about this too, is you can always start your ball rolling by approaching local events. Have somebody reach out on your behalf to podcasters or people doing, Blog Talk's not as popular anymore, but look for, venues that are already building a community. Sorry? Oh, I think Jolene's a little bit on the fritz there, but, or am I?
I think she's in deep thought right now.
She's got that thinking look on her face. So anyway, I'll just finish that thought. But that's really what's worked for me to get the pump primed. Talk to colleagues and friends who know my work, reach out to local events, and kind of prime the pump and get a big Blitz model out.
Go ahead, Sandra. You're going to say jump in on that.
She'll be back. What happens is I've been on Blab for like 36 days, so I think I'm like the Blab tech. Refresh when all goes bad, refresh and you pop out and then you fly back in. So while we're waiting for our host, I will give you a little commercial. Tell the bird, people. Speaking engagements are all about the bird too, because when people hear you and they like your message, they tell people. So click the little tell a bird if you're in here now, and you're going to bring more people in so that they can hear your message and tell others. And she's back.
Woohoo!
Great job filling in, Sandra.
Excellent. It's funny because
I told people, Jolene, to tell the bird.
I heard. It was perfect. You know what's great about this is a learning curve for all of us. So, George and Melanie, I have been in the hot seat where you are, but I've never hosted. So I didn't know I was gone, and I was talking and talking and talking.
That's okay. We can handle it. We knew you were going to fly back.
We're all pros. We can fill in.
And we're going to come back around. Sandra, chime in on what Melanie was talking about. This is important. This is the people leave out. You've got to reach out and ask.
Oh, you asked the perfect question to me. I ask in threes. I like the number 3. It's the power 3 plus me. I actually registered that domain, the power3.me. Something's going to happen with it someday. So here's Jolene. She's the power, and here's the 3, right? So I ask in 3. So I'll say, hey, can I come and speak at your women's group, I'm free. We don't have a budget. Well, I'll come for free. Oh, you don't have that opportunity? Well, what about if I connected and did this? Or what about if I just do that? Now I can't even think of 3 examples, but always asking threes. Even co-hosting a podcast on Blab, I've been able to connect to people to make connections to possibly speaking engagements. So ask away and put yourself out there, because people don't know that you have a gift and a talent and speak. They might hear you, but they say, oh, okay, whatever. No, I speak. Hire me. Have me come in. If you don't have a budget, I would be happy to come and speak for free. If you can pay my expenses or put me up in a really fancy hotel in New York. No, I'm only kidding. But put yourself out there and just ask. Ask in threes. I ran a nonprofit for 12 years with my daughters. It was called the Cure Chief Foundation. We made head coverings and sent them to people with cancer. And in those shoes, as a fundraiser, I had to constantly ask. And sometimes it's tough because people don't have anything to give, and you're competing with other people, just like us speakers are competing, right? There's a lot of us. But my brother told me once, ask in threes. So I would go out for my fundraiser and I'd say, hey, we need a $10,000 sponsor. Oh, we don't have that. Do you have anything else? They'd somehow feel like they were on the hook because I asked them one thing. Oh, you have a 2,500 package? Okay. Bam. I didn't even have to go down to, can you donate a free raffle prize? They went in on the second one and they said,
that's a great point.
Yep.
That's a great point when you give them options.
Yep.
And I have echo. I've got my volume down. And is that better, everybody?
It's maybe put earbuds in. Do you have earbuds?
I had them in and I took them out.
All right. Try to put them back in. So definitely ask in threes. Put yourself out there and tell people that you speak, because, that's the only way that you're going to make a connection. So,
all right. George, so asking is the number one thing that doesn't happen. And I am echoing still. So I'm going to try to refresh.
I have a mic. Can you hear me now? Why am I echoing?
I got a blue ball too. You got a blue ball?
Yeah.
I got a Yeti.
Mike EB.
All right. Is that better, everybody?
Blue ball is orange.
Mike EB. Can you hear me now?
I can hear everybody.
What's this, a cell phone commercial? Can you hear me now?
The echo is bad. Is what I'm hearing. What I'm seeing.
Let me see if I can do a quick refresh. I don't know.
And it was fine.
Headphones are needed by Sandra. Why are headphones? I have a mic. I need headphones. Mike, you want to hop in and tell us what's happening? Maybe someone can come in and help us. That means
I have headphones. I had them in a room. Thinking.
Jolene needs headphones.
They're in.
You can hear me. Gina? Gina can hear me. I got a damn orange ball of fire here.
It says it's Jolene. Damn Jolene for causing trouble.
We're breaking the blab, guys.
Now you are messed up.
Not. Now who's messed up? George is good. All right, this is interesting. This is like, let's take a different square.
Yeah, I know. We keep moving. How is it now?
I'm good,
Sam. It's better.
I'm good.
Yes, and everybody hung in there, and I really appreciate that. So we were talking about asking, and we haven't gotten to George. I'm diving to George. Number one, just to recap, you've got to ask. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. That's number one. George, let's talk to you about that. You're going to Alaska tomorrow. I think that is awesome. Talk a little bit about how asking got you where you are, and then we're going to move to paid keynotes.
I'll tell you what. So when I first started about 6 years ago, it was all about asking. And fortunately, I came from a corporate environment where I was on the phones a lot. So I had a lot of phone experience. And really, I come from kind of a humbling beginning where I would call, these Rotary clubs. Yep. And I would call the Lions clubs, and I would call these free clubs that I would go in and do free talks with. And basically, I had 2 or 3 different what I call signature presentations that were about 30 minutes long, and I would deliver them all over town. And after a few of those, I thought, okay, I'm doing this sort of high and buy thing here. I need to create a way to connect with people and actually ask people if they would like to book me for another group. And so I created these participant action sheets where I talked about the 7 steps to whatever it is that I was teaching. And on the bottom of it, I had check this box if you would like to join George's newsletter and receive this free gift. And check this box if you would like to chat with George about booking him for another program. And so after I started doing that, I started to really grow and expand where I was speaking. And my first paid gig was $500. And that was, I think, 6 years ago. And I was so excited at the time because it was for 45. I was going to talk about building rapport for the Colorado Association of Realtors. And that was just so cool to get paid to talk. I mean, it's a fascinating thing. And so since then, I've just kind of been growing it and expanding it. But that's really where I started, was the Lions Clubs and the Rotary Clubs and Toastmasters. And that's where I got my feet wet.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, it's one of the things that I like to talk about is that when we start in these new spaces, we have to be willing to leave the free space and move into the paid space. And that's the space right there where people struggle because they're afraid that they're not conditioned enough or seasoned enough. We lost George and Sandra. So, Melanie, you have the ability. You said, I lost everybody.
I'm here.
We're here. Oh, you're here audio-wise. Refresh, guys, and we'll keep talking. They're still there? So it must be me. It is storming where I am. I'm in upstate New York, so all of this is my fault. It's all my fault.
It's technology.
Jolene, you live out in the clouds somewhere.
Yes, I do. I live where the cows live. So when we talk about paid speaking, I want to circle this back around to the keynotes because that's what a lot of people want. They want to be able to show up in a room and get paid, and they want to get paid a decent amount of money. And a lot of times negotiation happens with that. George, can you talk about, you have a paid keynote in Alaska, is that right? You're flying tomorrow?
Yeah, I just
talk about, that's awesome. So did you have to negotiate that price? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so they found me on Gig Salad. You guys familiar with gigsalad.com?
No. Well, yeah, I'm not part of it. Gigsalad.com?
Yeah, there's two websites that you can go to and put a profile up, put your videos up, put images up, put your bios up, put your topics up. Gig Salad and gigmasters.com. And basically I got a profile on each of those sites, and I was doing a speaking engagement yesterday in Eugene, Oregon for a transportation organization. And I got an email from this woman who said, hey, I'm looking for, my keynote fell through. I need a keynote on September 22nd in Homer, Alaska. And so I got on the phone right away and I called her and we started chatting away. And she asked, well, what's your fee for a 90-minute keynote? And I said, it's $4,000.
Good for you.
Yeah. And she said, and I said, I'm flexible depending on your budget. So what is your budget? What's your max budget? And she said $3,000. And so, I'm willing to be flexible. There's a certain low that I'll go. But even when you mentioned earlier, Jolene, about the free talks, I gave this free talk a couple of weeks ago, not a couple of weeks, but a couple of months ago, to the Oregon Transportation Pupil Association, and it was about 175 people. And I booked quite a few talks by handing out those checkbox sheets just by giving that free talk. And so I would love to hear from you. What's that balance between when do you accept a free talk because it's going to lead to more business, and when do you say no to a free talk?
Well, I would say, and the others can chime in, when it works. And so when I talk about free talks, when we start out as speakers, and because I was in the Rotary Club rooms too, I did the same circuit, and there had to come a point where when people continued to call me and ask me and say, I can't pay you, I had to ask for an honorarium. But it is a fine line, because when you have an opportunity like that, when you said there's 175 people in the room, I ask a lot of questions. Who's going to be in the room? Are they other businesses? Are they other associations? How can it serve me? Can I sell? So asking all of those questions justifies that free talk. Yes. So when I say let the free talks go, there's always a space where you have to negotiate to make sure that it serves you. But there is a point, and I don't know if you all agree, where eventually you just have to say no when they don't want to. I had AARP call me and offer me $50.
50 whole dollars?
50, and I had to say no, because I asked what the room was like, and the room wouldn't have served me. And it's, in the beginning, I understand when you're trying to make your mark and make waves. But George, that's when you say yes. Would you ladies agree?
Totally. I'm with you 100%, Jolene, too. It's like, I don't ever look at it as a free talk. I look at it, what are the ways in which I can get paid? Can I get paid to sell? If that's not appropriate, can I get paid by developing leads and collecting leads from the room? And we haven't talked about this yet, but there's a great new strategy where you can, if it's appropriate with the host, you can invite people just to text message in to get on your list, share something valuable with them. That can be valuable. So again, it's always what you negotiate, right? Everything's a constant negotiation. Everything's about asking and then figuring out, how can I monetize this now and over the future? I'll just say, I had a woman who I met at a speaking gig where, nothing happened at that speaking gig. There was no sales, but she got on my list. 3 years later, she spent $15,000 with me.
Wow.
You don't know. And she said, I have been watching you for 3 years. I knew it was finally time. And so, we always have to look at, we might not get paid in this moment, but is the payment being in front of people? It would cost me thousands of dollars to create these leads on my own. So that's kind of the way my brain works. And again, it's not always appropriate. I say no more than I say yes these days. But how can you leverage your time and energy, collect the leads, offer people a valuable free gift to build a relationship with them, see if you could sell in the back of the room? There's always going to be a way.
Shebang has asked a question. I promise and it speaks to this. She said, I literally just had someone email me asking me what my fee is for speaking to an association group. Mm-hmm. So she wants a little bit of feedback. You guys, I want you to take the reins. Who here has spoken at an association? I have, but let's start with you. Yeah, so let's start with you, Melanie. Give me about a minute of how would you respond? How should she respond to that?
I'm going to take the cue from George and follow, exactly what he said before. I always lead in and say, here's my speaking fee, and what's your budget? Okay, I actually don't ever say I'm negotiable. I just say, and what's your budget? And that way that opens the door. If that is not a good fit for them, well, let's speak. If I want to be there, because there's also a credibility factor. Some of these associations are going to be great credibility for your speaking one sheet and to, expand credibility for you as a speaker. So, figure out, can you make it a win? Is there something negotiable? So I've charged anywhere in the beginning, it was like, I think I charged like $2,000 once for a United Way event I spoke at. And I've done some comped, but there was also, like George said, there's ways to get more speaking leads from the people in that room.
So I agree with you. And what I would do is I pick up the phone. I don't like to do negotiation via email. I think that's really poor. But that's a great start. So I keep calling her Shebang, and it's, what is your name, Shebang? Tell me. But offer, start with $2,000, start with $3,000. Let them know that that's your fee, because it's been my experience when I say $3,000 or $4,000, they have a tendency to say, well, my budget is $2,500 or $3,500. So be brave and put it out there. I mean, when AARP asked me my fee, because it's literally down the road, I said $1,000. I do $1,000 for local. And she laughed at me. She just wasn't expecting that, and she offered me $50. So yeah, be brave and put it out there. Call it $2,000, call it $3,000. And every time, right, guys? And you'll get more and more comfortable with it too. So let me see if there's any more questions. My daughter, the wait is over.
So First of all, props to George, because when I found out that I was invited here and I wanted to be here, I, of course, Googled everyone else. And first of all, I was touched by the hugs on the freaking street corner, the free hugs video. I'm into that. I'm Say It Forward, all about positivity. I stood in the train station in Connecticut last summer. My daughter was mortified, and then she was cheering me, and handed a Say It Forward card to every damn person in that train station. And I'll tell you, that to me is like a bigger rush than any speaking gig could ever be. You're personally speaking to every person you look at. So I was inspired by that, and I wanted to tell you. Second thing, I love what George said about the feedback form, and I have mine, and I'd be happy to share a PDF if someone wants to tweet at me. A good friend of mine, one of my speaker mentors, Kathy McAfee, said, when you're done, speak for free as much as you can in the beginning, Sandra, but when you're done, get a form in your hands, because if you can get their testimonial on your website, on your LinkedIn, that is very valuable. So that free is going to turn into money. So I'll tell you an experience about, and I love also George, another prop. George puts pictures out there, and my friend Gina is in on this call, and Gina is very big into set an intention. So George has this picture, and he's like, I used to just look at these seats, and now these seats are the people in my audience. That's powerful. So I attended a conference 2 years ago at Nichols College, this little business school out in Massachusetts. And I was an attendee. I paid the fee and attended, and we had breakout sessions, and there was speakers there. And actually, it was like, I want to say it was like 3 years ago. And I said to myself, this is so cool. You know, I was just getting into speaking, and I said to myself leaving, I'm going to speak at this college next year. This was a couple of years ago. And I kept saying it to myself and saying it to myself. And then all of a sudden I get this email saying the conference is coming up and we're looking for speakers. So I go into this pool of people. There's like 500 people that want to speak. And I just kept putting my intention out there, you know, telling people I want to speak and just believing that I was. I got selected. I performed a speech. It was free. It was called Branding Yourself Like a Kid on the Playground. You know, they said they didn't have a budget, but I said, I'm going to do it because I felt like, here I am. I put the intention out there and now I'm speaking. I got 20 clients that paid me about $200 a pop to teach them Instagram on a Skype call from that free gig. So put the intention out there, believe that it's going to happen, and then just kind of go with it. And whether it's a paid speaking gig or a connection to my business, because I teach social media, people were inspired. And now they're like, you know what? We loved your speech. You gave so much value. And now here you go. Here's $200. Teach us.
Sandra is fired up, Morgan says. Morgan Gingram says, Sandra is fired up.
My friend, I can't come on here and say that. No, I'm only kidding.
Well, you know, and Gina right here in the comments is saying the law of attraction works. Last summer, I put together a mastermind, and I did it in June, and everyone said, you're not going to fill the room. And a fellow entrepreneur who was helping my husband out said to my husband, she's not going to fill that room. And my husband came home and told me that. And I said, you watch me fill that room, you know, and I wanted to cap attendance at 20. I got 14 in that room, and I converted that room to a 5-figure payday selling my packages. And I like those small rooms. They're intimate. But, you know, I wanted to, I know there's a lot of people on here and keep throwing the questions at me. Where do you find the associations? I've shared that I found them on Weddles.com, W-E-D like David, D like David, L-E-S like Susan.com. And also Columbia Books Information. It's a subscription. But if, you know, the Weddles or Weedles, and I don't know how to pronounce it, was where I began. And so the folks over here asking, you can find literally when you go to Weddles.com, and I've scoped on this before, it's listed in categories: banking, advertising, all sorts of different categories. I can't think now unless it's in front of me. And you can search these websites and you can find these events this way. But it all comes back to, and you know, I say this so often, someone's going to punch me in the head one of these days. Figure it out. You know, what are other speakers doing? Go to other speakers' websites. You know, I love being on here with all three of you because you know what it is that you need to do. And you've all said it was figuring it out. It was taking steps. It was showing up. It was asking questions. Talk to me a little bit more, and anyone is free to jump in, about the negotiation piece. So what else do you leverage? Do you leverage airfare? Do you leverage hotel rooms? Do you leverage referrals?
Yeah, I'll add a quick thing here is I think that when you're negotiating, one thing that you can do is negotiate book sales. So if you, and that's one thing that from an event planner standpoint, it's like they're looking for the expert, they're looking for the specialist in the area. And if you have a book, if you're a published author on that topic, it really moves you out of the noise and allows you to stand out from the crowd. And so a lot of times I'll negotiate book sales. Like if you buy X amount of books for the meeting, then we can utilize that as a speaking fee. So that's just a quick tip that I'll share there.
That's great. Yeah. Ladies?
You know, I'm all about collaborating with people. So I've actually built my entire business success around collaborating and connecting and networking with other leaders in my industry. So I think one of the fastest ways to get going is look at people who are in your space, reach out and ask them, Kate, can we promote each other? Can we cross-refer each other? I have a really good friend. Her name is Rhonda Britton, and she gets asked to do a lot of speaking gigs. She's, one of the premier life coaches in our space, but not all of them are appropriate. So we cross-refer. I might get stuff that's not good for me, and I'll send it off to her. So, I think we oftentimes forget, and I think as women in particular, it's easy to kind of get in our silos, like, hey, let's support each other and build each other up. That's one of the ways I do it.
I love that. And my friend Gina is still here, and she's going to be like, why is she talking about me? Gina is someone bartering. Like, I have this gift to offer. I can do this, you can do that, you know, the give, get kind of thing. But recently I came up with this idea. I think I ran it by you, Jolene, and I posted it in a club that I belong to called Blabaholics. Yes, I am one. And I had great feedback. So this is the thing. I'm calling it Let's Collaborate. I registered the URL. I'm in it 100%. What I want to do is, and I would love to have you guys participate, bring people into Blab. So I will host it on my show called Blab Rehab. And it's not about blabbing too much. It's just about sharing positivity and making connections when blabbing too much is a positive thing. That's my theme. So once a week, I want to bring people in. I want this one seat to have someone pop in and say, this is what I'm passionate about. I want to be a speaker, or this is what I speak about, or maybe this is the product that I sell, or this is what I do in my business. And I want the 3 people, power 3 again, to say, George, that's great. What if you tweaked it a little bit to sell your book, or try this or try that? And damn, you know what's going to happen? People are going to be flocking to George because they're going to say, I want your book. I want you to connect. I want you at my conference. So that is the huge vision I have. I like to think big. I have a giant pillow on my bed that says think big, so I actually sleep on it every night. So I want to do it, and I want to do it on Blab big time. And I'd love to have you guys be part of it. What's going to happen? We're all going to grow, and we're going to help each other. Everyone's going to tell a little bird. So someone might be coming to George. Someone might be coming to Jolene. Someone might be coming to Melanie. Other people that are coming in will feel empowered, because not everyone has that loud, bold attitude, I guess, that I have. And they...
No, it's beautiful. And I want to stop you, too, because there's a couple of questions. That's how I ended up on Blab. It was Erin Smith of the Starters Club. And I am so grateful for her, because I reached out and I said, will you host me on a Periscope? She said yes. And then she said, let's blab it at the same time. So it's total collaboration, you know, willing to step up and do the same for anybody. It's the way this works. We have to be able to serve each other. And then, like Melanie, you were saying earlier, people go to you, they see you as the expert. You've got to keep showing up.
It's consistency, by the way. 2 quick questions. Morgan,
it is consistency. It's constant consistency. And even in those moments where you get tired and you think it's not working, plant the seeds. It's so generic. Plant the seeds and keep showing up. Morgan, type your question in the side. Revel, when you say $3,000 for a talk, does that include room and board? If you wanted to, that I'll throw that in and see if anyone else does. $3,000 can be all inclusive. I've done that. If you don't want it to be, you can say $4,000 and make it all inclusive. Or you can say my fee is $3,000, but can you throw in a hotel room? It's so gray. It's never black and white. So I don't know if anyone else.
I just want to say one thing: start with what you want, negotiate to what you're willing to take.
That's a great way to put it. Yes, 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 yes. So awesome. So Morgan, you had a question. Chime in with questions on the sides, guys. Is it Jenergy? You had a question too.
I know Jen.
So yeah, Jen. So when it comes to, so guys, when we're talking about events, one thing that I do when I'm asked to speak at a conference for free, I often leverage the hotel room and I often leverage the vendor table. And one of the things that I do ask is, I've been told, well, we can't let you sell. And I'd love to hear what the 3 of you say to this. I then say to the conference organizer, I understand that and I respect that. Will you allow me to give away a free consultation?
Oh, that's good. And then you name.
Yeah. Do you find that works for you? Because essentially you are. I mean, here's the thing. When you're talking, I've always said it's very manipulative if your only goal during a talk is to sell, sell. You're going to sell yourself. With your personality, when they love you, they're going to want to learn more about you. They're going to want to approach you and come up to you afterwards. So have you ever, any of you ever had this? How do you deal with it when they say you can't sell from the stage?
It's cutting out again.
Yeah.
Are you flying away, Jolene?
Ask the question again.
I know I heard you. I'll jump in and then you guys can, I'd love to hear what you have to say. You know, so I actually have to say, I've had a lot of mixed feelings about platform sales over the years. And I'm actually kind of grateful when somebody says, we don't want you to sell, but I'm also looking for, okay, so is this still a win for me? Can I really make this a good fit all the way around? That's where that hybrid model came in. Look, if you don't want me to sell, and you want me to travel to your event, I still need to generate income. We still need to look for the win-win here. So I don't actually mind not being able to sell, but I either have to collect leads, and they got to let go of that, they got to pay my accommodations and my travel.
Great.
Or they need to bundle in my product. And I've actually suggested that to people who didn't even have that in their mind. They just wanted me to come speak for free. And it turned into a huge win and a much more financially abundant outcome. So that's my take on it.
Beautiful. Morgan is asking, what are your tactics to find engagements to speak at? I'll say what I do and then the rest of you. Morgan, I said it earlier, go to Weddles.com. Those are associations and associations pay. W-E-D like David, D like David, L-E-S like Susan. You'll find a ton of associations. Also colleges. Colleges will pay between $2,000 and $7,000 to get a talk. So go to colleges. This is a great tip for you. Look for the Greek life. Look for someone who's in charge of, I can't think right now unless I have it in front. Yes, yes. And those are great places to start. Go ahead, Sandra.
School of Business or School of Entrepreneurship. Like we have Quinnipiac, we have UConn here in Connecticut. The colleges are definitely a great avenue. I agree.
Okay, awesome. And someone just said, make sure all my apps are closed. I'm sorry. It's killing my Wi-Fi. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I'm continuing to close my apps.
Yeah, so, Jolene, if you're, I hate to kick you off Periscope, but I found that if you're Periscoping and on this and your bandwidth is low, it'll kill your, it'll create a lot of interruptions.
Okay, so everybody on Periscope, come find us on Blab. We're just about to finish up anyway, so I'm going to do that. I want to make sure that I have a lot of apps open.
Yeah.
So this is gonna.
Jolene, I have another tip. Is a one sheet. You guys have those? So I made mine colorful because that I am, right? And again, the power of three. I have 3 presentations that kind of are a little bit, a little sprinkling of what I'm all about. So it might be the corporate people. I've spoken at corporations, how to keep people positive. Women's groups, brand yourself like a kid on the playground is my thing. So teaching people how to use hashtags on Instagram. And then just say it is just sort of my generic, I shouldn't call it generic because it really is pretty cool, but like my standard positive message that I can give to any kind of group. So this has been really helpful. It's on my website. I deliver it. I hand it out wherever I can. And so that's just another tip.
As far as the colleges, you had asked who to reach out to. The director or coordinator of student activities, reach out to them. The coordinator of Greek life, reach out to them. Director of career services, reach out to them. A lot of universities, even colleges, they have tons of different schools and people to reach out to, but all of these 3 particular fields right here, the director of residential life, they're all looking for people at some point to speak. And even if you speak at a college, you're going to get referrals, whether it's another college or another business, because someone will come up to you and say, oh my gosh, I work for XYZ. So here's what I recommend regarding that one sheet, Sandra, print it and take it with you. Because when you're at these events, people are going to approach you and they're going to say, oh, I think my boss would just love to hear from you. Hand them that one sheet, but also get their contact information too. So you can reach out and say, hey, did you share this information? Can you get me in touch with XYZ so I can get the ball rolling? You have to be aggressive.
Yes, definitely.
One resource that I'll share real quick, my mentor, I joined his mastermind earlier this year, and it's made a huge difference. His name is James Malinchak, but he's got a 3.5-day program called College Success Speaking Bootcamp.
Oh, wow.
And, I mean, it is a phenomenal, content-rich program that I learned a ton from about the college market. So College Speaking Success Bootcamp.com, I think is what it is. Phenomenal teacher.
Yeah. Hey, I want to throw another idea out,
too. Where did you find your one sheet? I'm sorry, Melanie. Someone's asking where you found your one sheet.
Where I found my one sheet?
Yeah.
I made my one sheet. I worked on it with my daughter. She did it in Photoshop.
Oh, where can we find it? Genergy, you said tweet Sandra. Oh, sure.
My one sheet, if you go to either sayitinternational.com, that's my business. You can click on Say It With Sandra, or you can just go to sayitwithsandra.com. That's where I have my one sheet and all the things that I offer as far as services and stuff. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm sorry,
Hey,
Melanie,
no problem. I was just going to bring up another idea. It just dawned on me. One of the ways to, if you're just starting or you want to build some better traction, is stand out as a leader. That's actually another thing that's worked really well for me. I got active in Women's Speakers Association from the get-go. I'm on their executive leadership team. And then instead of just being in the group and like hanging out, I actually stepped up and I host their weekly speaker chat on Twitter. And so the minute you start leveraging social media and the other platforms, people see you as a leader, you're going to create more visibility. I use a hashtag called speaker in speaker chat, and it's absolutely going to skyrocket your traction. So think about how you can leverage social media with the right search engine optimization, keywords, hashtags that will help people see you as the expert.
Little video clips.
Yeah, video clips, great.
I'll have to give Genergy a prop because I was in on one of her labs. We're always learning from people, right? She's talking about Twitter, and I'm like, I know everything about Twitter. I don't need her. So I pop in, and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know that. So Jen gives me a simple tip that everyone probably knows, right? Put something colorful or a video at the top of your Twitter feed and pin it. And I'm like, isn't that Pinterest? And she says, no, you click on this and pin it. So I've been doing it, and thank you, Jen. You're awesome. I'm going to meet you at Periscope Week next week. All my engagement from the video, I made a video saying I'm going to be on a blab, whatever. People now hear me, and bam, they make a connection right there. So exactly what Melanie said, use social media, use videos, use your voice on any platform that you can where your people are that want to meet you.
What do you say to people that are brand new to this? They're just moving up in the ranks with social media. They're resisting those associations. They're resisting reaching out because they don't think they have clout.
You guys want to answer? You want me to? I can answer that.
You got to start somewhere. Yeah, my first coaching mentor. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sandra.
Go ahead. You go. Go ahead.
Well, Melanie, take it away. My first coaching mentor said, if you know at least 5 more to 10 more things than the person you're teaching, you can take the lead. And you got to start somewhere. You got to start building, traction and teach the things that you know more than the other person. And then there's a great win-win. You're giving value to someone else. So that's how I started. And trust me, I was freaking scared every step of the way. So it wasn't like I was like, I'm an expert and I'm going to go speak. It's like, no, like, okay, I'm terrified, but I still am going to do this because this is how we get to where we want to go in results.
That's beautiful.
One of the things I joke about is that I got asked to one of my very first high-paid speaking gigs. It was $1,500. They asked me if I could put together a team building event. I'm like, sure. Mm-hmm. Hang up the phone, look at my husband. I said, what on God's green earth is a team building event? Figured it out. George, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I thought it was beautifully said, Melanie, what you just said. I mean, I think it's so important that, we start with where we are and start to deliver a message and add value really early on. And I think there's a lot of speakers out there who are just getting started. And one thing that helped me along the way is record everything that you do. Because we live in an online world, people are always going to be looking for videos of you. And if you have high quality videos of you delivering high content, engaging the audience, and humor is such a big thing, it makes a huge difference in whether people are going to book you or not. And I think another key that really helped me along the way was what James had taught me. He said, you got to find something you're passionate about that is already a revenue stream that meeting planners already pay money for. And so that really clicked in my mind to start organizing and creating books, creating videos, creating programs that really were in alignment with those already generated revenue streams. So I could just stick myself in there and market and promote from that place.
Perfect. So Sandra, you want to weigh in on that?
I'm looking for my, it's not even meant that I say it. So lots of times for the people that are new, lots of times they don't know they have a gift. I am the prop. There's a prop for that, right? Someone today told me, don't say there's an app for that. Just say there's a prop for that because I have a prop. So we all have a gift. We all have a message, right? And when we share our message in our speech, online, one-to-one, that is our contribution. And people are going to connect to that. They're going to resonate with that. They're going to want you to speak, to sell. They're going to want to get to know you more. They're going to want to keep what you're offering. So if you're quiet and you're shy or you're just kind of sitting back saying, no one really needs to hear me, we all have a gift. Every one of us in this square here has a different message and even a different style, say. And there's an audience for all of us. And by putting yourself out there and kind of making yourself a little vulnerable, I act crazy all the time. That's just who I am. if people don't like crazy, maybe they won't like me. But you know what? It will attract someone who needs my energy and needs my craziness. And just put yourself out there and don't be afraid, because and sometimes it takes a little push from someone. And Gina, again, you're still in here. I, for years, guys, before I became a speaker, thought that I had this company that was just going to sell a product, right? They were these little cards, Say It Forward cards. Here they are, that I had with my messages, and that was my company, right? And then I became connected to this group called BIG, Believe, Inspire, Grow. They're here in Connecticut. And women in this group started telling me, you have a gift. You're really good with social media stuff. I want to learn what you have. And then one lady would tell another lady, and I'd be teaching people in a parking lot. And then one day, my friend Gina, I'm going to get verklempt now, said, damn, you should be speaking. I want you to speak at my meeting. And of course, it was free. And I said, you know what? For someone to believe in me and say, I have a message and I think you have a gift, Sandra, put yourself out there. That was the beginning of all of it. It was one person that kind of pushed me and said, you know what? You have something to say, so go do it. And from there, it's just going to continue. It is with you guys, everything that I've seen that you guys have done. So, yeah, I could talk for like another 3.5 hours.
Well, I had said I was going to do this for 45 minutes. So if anyone wants to duck out that's on here, I respect that completely. There's a few more questions. So I'm going to stick around just for maybe another 5 or 7 minutes. George, what was the name of the man you mentioned? Genergy's asking. Genergy, I sent you the link. So I think if you go to the link, what was his name?
His name is
James Malinchak.
Okay. And Good Inkling says, don't you think that using tools like Blab help you learn what works and doesn't work for presentations?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
I think you learn what people look for. You learn what that's how I learned I used to title my talks Really Boring. And I was working with a speaker coach who said, you've got to use these buzzwords and these keywords and say don't and how to and all of these other things. And I thought I had all these creative titles. When you're building a talk, just another point is make sure that title is really attractive. Bounce it off some people. What is going on in the world today that we need to know and understand? How can you merge business with motivation? I get that question a lot. George, you must do that with the talks that you do. You merge your business with motivation. I think we all do, yes?
Yep. Yeah, one of my favorite talks that I get booked for is called Maximum Performance and Productivity. And it is all about how do we manage our own energy? How do we manage our own emotions? How do we manage our own mind? And then what are the strategies and the specific tactics to get the most out of every day so that we can stay productive and in front of our business instead of behind it? Right.
Well, I think this was a great Blab. We have like just about 100 people that are in the room, and I think that is fantastic. 96 people. Thank you all so very much. Please, everybody in the room, let's stay connected. Follow one another, even the ones in the side here, the 4 of us. Tell a little bird. Thank you, Rebel. I really appreciate your time. I wish you guys a marvelous day. Melanie, Sandra, and George, we will continue to stay connected. Thanks so much for being a part of it.
That's great. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Look forward to connecting more.